Stop for a second. Imagine you're standing in the middle of an open plain 80,000 years ago. No cities, no roads, no hospitals, no emergency numbers, no antibiotics waiting for you if something goes wrong. Just grass stretching to the horizon, a few people from your tribe nearby, and one tiny decision standing between you and tomorrow. Now here's the strange part. The biggest threat to ancient humans wasn't always lions. It wasn't saber-toothed cats. It wasn't freezing winters or starvation. Sometimes, the deadliest thing in the entire landscape was making one small mistake. One step, one bite, one drink, one assumption that turned out to be wrong. Because in the ancient world, mistakes didn't usually become lessons. They became fossils. Today, we grow up believing failure is part of learning. Fail a test, take it again, burn dinner, order pizza. Get lost? Pull out Google Maps. Modern life quietly assumes that almost every mistake is reversible. Ancient life assumed the opposite. Almost every mistake was permanent. And once you realize that, you start seeing the human brain very differently. Let's go. First, imagine you're gathering food. Not shopping, not choosing between organic and non-organic apples. Actually searching. Every berry you pick could feed your family or poison your entire group. Today, we forget that poisonous plants don't come with warning labels. Some berries look almost identical to edible ones. Some mushrooms differ by a single detail invisible, unless you've spent years learning the difference. A root that kept one tribe alive could kill another, because preparation mattered. Some plants had to be soaked, others had to be roasted. Some needed hours of processing before they stopped being toxic. Miss one step, and dinner became your last meal. Anthropologists studying traditional hunter-gatherer societies have found that edible plant knowledge isn't simple. It's enormous. Children spend years learning which leaves, seeds, fruits, bark, and roots are safe during different seasons. It's basically an entire medical and nutritional encyclopedia, stored only inside human memory. No books, no internet. If the person carrying that knowledge died before teaching it, part of your civilization disappeared with them. Now, think about water. This one surprises people. You see a beautiful stream flowing through the forest, crystal clear, looks perfect. Modern movies teach us that running water equals safe water. Ancient reality was much harsher. That stream might contain parasites, animal waste upstream, dead carcasses, bacteria invisible to human eyes. Today, getting severe diarrhea is miserable. 80,000 years ago. Losing water for 2 days could kill you, especially if food was already scarce. One drink, one bad decision, game over. Then there's hunting. People imagine ancient hunters as fearless warriors charging mammoths with spears. Reality? Good hunters were usually careful, not reckless, because missing wasn't the real danger. Getting injured was. Imagine chasing a deer. You finally corner it. It kicks. One broken leg. That's it. No cast, no surgery, no crutches. You don't simply recover. You stop hunting. Your group now has to feed you. If they can't, evolution quietly removes you from the story. The same thing applied to every dangerous animal. Even a successful hunt carried enormous risk. A wild boar can gore you. A bison can crush you. An elk can shatter bones. A wounded animal is often more dangerous than a healthy one. That's why many traditional hunting societies value patience more than bravery. Because bravery gets remembered, patience gets to become old. And speaking of old, here's something almost nobody realizes. Ancient humans became incredibly good at avoiding unnecessary risks, not because they loved safety, but because evolution rewarded caution with grandchildren. Researchers studying hunter-gatherer decision-making consistently notice something fascinating. Experienced hunters often abandon hunts that younger hunters would continue. Not because they're weaker, because they've learned something. Mathematics eventually confirmed. A small increase in risk rarely justifies a small increase in reward. Your brain didn't evolve to maximize success. It evolved to maximize survival. Those are completely different goals. Now, let's talk about something even smaller. Cuts. Today, you barely notice one. Wash it, bandage it, forget about it tomorrow. Ancient humans didn't have antiseptics. They didn't know bacteria existed. A tiny cut while making a stone tool could become infected. The infection spreads. fever begins. Your immune system fights as hard as it can. Sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't. Even your own body becomes dangerous. One of the most extraordinary facts about modern medicine is how many deaths it quietly prevents that never make headlines. Antibiotics don't feel dramatic, but for almost all of human history, they would have looked like magic. Now, consider fire. Fire transformed humanity. It gave us warmth, protection, cooked food, light after sunset. But fire also introduced entirely new mistakes. Sleeping too close, letting sparks reach dry grass, leaving children unattended, allowing flames to escape during dry seasons. Ancient camps probably understood fire the way we understand electricity: essential, powerful, never completely safe. One careless moment could erase months of work, or your entire camp. Then there's something even stranger: trust. Humans survived because they cooperated. But cooperation created a completely different category of fatal mistakes: trusting the wrong person, sharing food with someone carrying disease, following an inexperienced guide, ignoring the oldest member of the group. Anthropologists often describe traditional societies as knowledge economies, not because of money, but because information itself determines survival. Who knows where water is? Who remembers migration routes? Who recognizes dangerous plants? Who predicts weather? The wrong answer wasn't embarrassing, it was lethal. Now, here's where everything connects. Why is your brain obsessed with anxiety? Seriously. Why do you replay conversations? Double-check locked doors? Feel nervous about uncertainty? At first glance, it seems irrational, until you remember the environment that built your nervous system. Imagine hearing an unfamiliar sound outside camp. One person says, "It's probably nothing." Another says, "Let's wake everyone. If they're wrong, everyone loses a little sleep." If they're right, everyone survives. Evolution doesn't reward perfect accuracy. It rewards surviving uncertainty. Your ancestors didn't need to eliminate false alarms. They needed to avoid missing real ones. That's why human beings naturally pay more attention to possible danger than possible comfort. Psychologists call this negativity bias. But long before psychologists gave it a name, evolution had already installed it. Now, think about children. Ancient childhood wasn't simply smaller adulthood. It was survival school. Kids weren't learning random facts. They were learning thousands of tiny rules. Never step there. Never touch that insect. Always smell meat before eating it. Never separate from the group. Watch where the elders place their feet while crossing rivers. Notice which clouds appear before dangerous storms. Modern education prepares you for careers. Ancient education prepared you for tomorrow morning. And here's something remarkable. Most of those lessons weren't taught through lectures. They were taught through stories. Stories about foolish hunters, careless children, greedy strangers, people who ignored warnings. For thousands of years, horror stories weren't entertainment. They were operating manuals for survival. Every monster hiding in the forest represented a real danger. Every cautionary tale compressed generations of painful experience into something memorable. Because remembering one story was easier than attending one funeral. Now, let's ask the question differently. What actually killed ancient humans most often? It wasn't one thing. It was accumulation. A bad harvest followed by illness. A small injury followed by infection. A harsh winter after food shortages. One mistake making the next mistake impossible to survive. Modern medicine tends to isolate causes of death. Ancient life stacked them together. Weakness invited weakness. And survival depended on breaking that chain before it began. Which brings us to the biggest mistake of all: overconfidence. Humans are astonishingly intelligent. Our ancestors crossed continents, built tools, mastered fire, learned thousands of species of plants and animals. But intelligence comes with a dangerous side effect. It convinces you that you understand more than you actually do. Nature has always punished that assumption. Walk too close, eat without checking, ignore the weather, travel alone, stay out after dark, challenge an animal larger than yourself. Every generation discovered the limits of confidence the same way. Someone didn't come home. And here's the part that feels surprisingly modern. We still carry that ancient brain, every instinct telling you to check again, to prepare, to worry about uncertainty, was shaped in a world where small mistakes had enormous consequences. The environment changed. The nervous system didn't. That's why we still feel uncomfortable walking through complete darkness. Why unfamiliar sounds grab our attention. Why uncertainty feels heavier than certainty. Your brain still behaves like tomorrow depends on today's smallest decision. Because for almost all of human history, it did. So, what was the mistake that killed countless ancient humans? There wasn't one. It was believing you could afford one. The ancient world wasn't conquered by the strongest people, or the fastest, or even the smartest. It was inherited by the people who respected how little room nature gave them to be wrong. That's the quiet secret hidden inside human evolution. Civilization didn't begin because humans stopped making mistakes. It began because, generation after generation, we became just a little better at surviving them.